Hey there, Deep Inspiration Hub here. So today is the last day of the grace period to run your checker node. So there was also a post by AETHIR that an important reminder for node owners that if you still haven't delegated your checker node, tomorrow, which basically is today because I'm recording this today, it's going to be the last day. Now we've been receiving rewards. So they give us this 2 weeks grace period where you're going to receive rewards whether your node was online or offline, right? But from today, or at the end of the day today, starting from tomorrow, if your node is not online or if your node is not delegated, you are not going to receive any rewards. And I think it will be quite painful to not receive rewards because you forgot to do the delegation. That's why I thought I'm going to do this video as a refresher to remind you that please delegate your node to receive rewards after the grace period. Now there are several options out there. That's why I'm going to do this quick refresher to take you through how you can do this. So you can set up the node at home on your personal computer, but here you need to know that your PC has to be on 100% of the time. And also secondly, you need to make sure that you can maintain 100% internet connection. So personally, I'm not going to be running my node at home. One, because I'm not very sure about my internet connectivity, that I'm going to get 100% internet connectivity all the time. And secondly, because my bandwidth is pretty saturated with all these miners that are running, right? And that's why if it's possible, I always prefer to just outsource the running of the nodes. So there are different options out there on how you can do this. You can buy a virtual private server, right? And then buying a private server, all it means is that you are basically delegating the hardware. So just to be clear, you are not delegating the node operation, you are just delegating the hardware. So what this means is that you are buying a hardware somewhere and telling them that, hey guys, give me a computer with this particular specification that I want to use to run my node, right? And then here, everything that has to do with installing the node, dating the node, delegating, undelegating and stuff is your full responsibility. All they provide you is the hardware. Now, what is the thing about VPS? I'm going to come back to this shortly. So here I've tested a whole lot of VPS which are very, very reliable, and I would have a few recommendations for you as to which providers to use and also which package to use depending on what conditions that you have with respect to the number of licenses that you have, if you want to be multiple mining with other nodes, triple mining and stuff like that. If you do not want to worry about all the technical stuffs, so whether you are running the Windows VPS on a Linux VPS or whether you're running on a Windows VPS, you need to do this yourself. But if you don't want to have the hassle of installing the node and stuff like that, so what I'm currently a bit worried about is that if I'm running the node on my own and there is an update that is pushed that we have to update it, and for instance, you're on holidays, bro, you have to do the updates, right? So these are some of the things that comes with trying to run the node yourself. Now, if you don't want to have this hassle, there is an easy way that you can go. That is by running the node with a node as a service provider. So here, basically, you delegate the hardware to them. You'd also delegate the node operations to them. So you do not have to worry about anything that has to do with running the node. All you have to do is to just sit and relax and just take your AETHIR tokens. Now, there are a few options out there. So I've made tutorials on almost all the big guys out there. So I've made a tutorial for Easeflow. I've made a tutorial for Infstones. I've made a tutorial for NodeOps, right? So if you want to use any of these NaaS providers, check my YouTube resource. So I have a ton of resources available for you on covering every possible aspect on how to run your checker node. If there is anything that you think I haven't covered, just put this in the comment section. I would have a look at it and cover this as well. Now for VPS options, like I said, I've had a few of them. I looked at Contabo, I looked at RackNerd, I looked at DigitalOcean and stuff like that. Now what I also found out that I want to highlight to you guys is that, so usually when we think about VPS, we always think about a VPS running on Linux, but which is not true, because you could also have a VPS that is running on Windows. So I can show you shortly how this looks. So I set up a Windows VPS on Contabo. I mean, this is slightly a bit more expensive because with Windows, you know that you have to buy a license. So for instance, if you go for a Ubuntu or a Linux based VPS, you would pay with Contabo 4.5 euros a month. But then immediately you try to go with a Windows option, you see that the price is going to go up to $11 a month because you're going to have to pay for a Windows license. I mean, that's the thing with Windows, right? You always have to pay for a license, so this could get more expensive. Now, the thing that I would recommend this option to you only if you intend running several things on that VPS. So what I'm currently doing, I'm also looking at this. If I'm successful, I'm going to be making a tutorial for you. Of course, this is how my Windows VPS looks, right? So I currently have a Windows VPS that is set up with Contabo. I'm running several nodes on it. I'm running Rivals on it. I'm also running Grass on it. And I'm also running NodeP on it, right? So this option is pretty good if you, for instance, you want to run. So what I'm only going for this approach if I want to run several things on the Windows VPS, because although the price is going to be expensive, I'm going to be running about 5 different projects on it. So it basically reduces the price for you, and also it takes away that complexity about working with Linux commands and stuff like that. So like I said, the Linux operating system is cheaper, right? You're going to pay about 4.5 euros a month, but then this would also come with the fact that you have to learn how to work with Linux commands. And here I've always got you covered on my channel. I provided all the commands that are going to be available for you, and I always try to come up with a new video whenever there is an update. But if you don't want to work with Linux, this is what I want to stress. I think as if I haven't said this on my channel, it's also possible to have a VPS on Windows, right? It's slightly a bit more expensive, but if this is the option that you want to go, I would only do this if I want to run more projects on that VPS server. So if you want to pay $11 and only run AETHIR checker node on a Windows VPS, then you might be better off going for NaaS, because there are some NaaS providers out there where you can basically pay about $10 to run your node. So for the VPS providers out there, I've had a scan through all of them, tested all of them. Here I'm going to plead with you. I'm going to put my referral link. If you want to sign up with any of these, please use my referral link. I mean, it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it just helps support my channel, because a lot of, all these VPS services that I'm testing, I'm paying all of them with my money, right? So that's why it's always nice when you guys use my referral link, because it helps me to be able to test out these things without having to put in so much money. So like I said, I'm going to make these recommendations specific to whatever that you have. So if you are, for instance, having a single license for the AETHIR checker node that you want to run, and the cheapest option that I would recommend to you is to go for RackNerd, because this is really a no-brainer. Yeah, you're going to pay just $11.49 a year for running your checker node, right? And this is the cheapest that you can find. I've not found any cheapest option out there. There might be something cheaper out there, but here I'm talking about what I have tested, right? So I tested this 1 GB KVM VPS option, and this is extremely stable. I never had a problem with my node going offline. So for one license, this is what I'm going to recommend. You don't have to pay too much, right? But here, remember that all these are going to be Linux VPS, so you're going to have to work with the Linux commands. Now, if you have two AETHIR checker nodes, so they say that the requirements are linear. So the thing is that the RAM you can always get, because the RAM requirements are not that high, but the CPU core is what you have to pay attention to. So for instance, if you have two AETHIR checker nodes, then I would recommend that you go with the 27.98 option. So this is also the price that you're going to pay a year. So here it's also the cheapest option that you can get. If you have 3 to 4 licenses, then I would recommend that you go here for the 4 CPU core options, which is about $52.49 a year, right? So here there's also the cheapest that you can find in terms of price to value. Now Contabo also has pretty good deals for VPS. So what I like here is that if you go for even their cheapest model, which is the 4.5 euros a month, if you look at this on a span of a year, this could be a bit more expensive than Contabo if you have one license, right? But if you have multiple licenses, then this is not a bad option as well, because the thing is that the specifications here that these guys give to you are huge, right? So they are giving you 4 CPU cores, they are giving you 6 GB of RAM, and they're also going to give you 400 SSD. And if you look at this, if you want to run multiple nodes on your VPS, I think this option would be good, because your VPS that you're going to get here is going to be way powerful for running just an AETHIR checker node. So you can do multiple mining, running other projects on the VPS as well. So currently I went for the slightly more expensive option, for 9.5 euros a month, just because I want to get a very, very powerful VPS. So it's going to be 6 CPU cores, it's going to be 16 GB of RAM and 400 GB of SSD. So what I intend running on this Cloud VPS 2 is I'm going to be running AETHIR. So currently I've set up my AETHIR checker node on it. I also got some Carve nodes, which I would also run here, and I also got some Sophon nodes that I might also run here. So I really want to go with a combo pack that I can run at least 2 to 3 projects on one VPS. Now, what you also have to realize is that when you want to do these multiple minings, you have to really look at how the node of that project is going to run. Because if for instance there's an update to the node and you would have to restart your PC, you have to restart your server every time, it's not going to be a wise idea to run about 3 of those projects on one VPS, because it means that every time you have to reboot your VPS, all the nodes would go offline and you'll have to restart them again, which would mean, for instance, for AETHIR, you know that whenever you reboot the VPS, you're not going to be paid for that day, right? So whenever you want to do these multiple minings, this is what I would plead with you to pay attention to. Currently I'm going with the Cloud VPS 2 option, because I have some projects that I'm going to be running on it, which would require very high resource. Secondly, what I was also thinking is that it might not necessarily be the best option to also go for pay $9.5 a month to run just 3 or 4 projects. What you can also do basically to come to RackNerd, right? You can take 3 or 4 packages here where you're going to be paying about $50 a year, and then you would have 4 independent VPS where you can run 1 project on every single VPS. So this is also very good approach. So I'm actually currently still considering if I should go with that approach than going with the combo pack that I plan to do here, because here you're going to have an independent VPS for every project that you want to run, and these would run independently, which would come as a huge advantage. What I would also recommend to you is that if you want to go for the multiple mining on the VPS approach, please, and also please make sure that you run only stable projects on the VPS. So don't try to run some projects that are going to give you an airdrop, stuff like that, on a stable VPS that is running a stable project. So for instance, I'm participating in a lot of nodes where I'm setting up nodes for airdrops and stuff like that, but I'm not going to be running any of these projects on a very stable project like AETHIR. So everything that I'm going to run parallel to AETHIR is going to be a project that I know is extremely stable, where I don't have to pose any security risk. So all these airdrop stuff that we do, setting up nodes and stuff like that, we do not know exactly what the security risk is going to be, and that is why I wouldn't advise to put your airdrop sort of nodes on the same VPS that you're going to be running a stable project on. And what is also available out there, for instance, is DigitalOcean. So DigitalOcean, the advantage that I had with DigitalOcean, which I also find to be good, is that if you sign up with my referral link, you're going to get $200 of free credit. So all these guys with Contabo, with RackNerd, you don't have any free credits, right? So what I saw is that about over 100 people use my referral link to sign up, and thanks so much for doing so, because this will support my channel as well. The reason why this DigitalOcean would be good is that if, for instance, you are not sure if you want to go for VPS, Linux is going to be good for you and stuff like that, you can just go with DigitalOcean, because they're going to give you $200 free credit if you sign up with my referral link. And then this $200 free credit, basically you can use to test DigitalOcean for 2 months for free, where you don't have to pay anything, which I find to be pretty good, right? So if you decide to go with DigitalOcean, I think the cheapest package that they have that you can run an AETHIR checker node is the $6 a month option. So the hardware requirements is way lower compared to what you would get, for instance, with Contabo if you pay for the $4.5 a month. But the advantage, like I said, with DigitalOcean is that they have an inbuilt console. I can show you how this works, where basically you just click on console and it basically connects you to your droplets without having to work with PuTTY, work with Windows PowerShell and stuff like that. But this is also not the only advantage that would come. DigitalOcean also, like all the other providers I mentioned here, are extremely stable. So I mean, the option is really out for you to select what would be the best option for you to set up your AETHIR checker node. So like I said, I have a huge resource in terms of how to set up your checker node on my channel. So I have covered Infstones as a NaaS provider, I have covered tutorials for Easeflow, I have covered tutorials for NodeOps, I have covered tutorials for Windows operating system, Linux operating system, and every possible method that would be out there to set up your checker node. What I haven't covered is the Windows VPS. So when I test this and it's successful, I would also make out a tutorial for this. So please don't be bound by the restrictions, the technical restrictions. I have provided all the resources that you need to set up your checker node, so you do not technically have any excuse on not setting up your node after the grace period. I'll be extremely happy if you set up your node, because I think it will be quite painful to pay so much for the checker node license and not being able to get paid for setting up. So that's it for this video. If you do have any questions that has to do with the checker node setup, so I have been quite active on my comments, trying to respond to every comment that is pushed out there. Just put this in the comment section and I'll answer you. Like I always say, you can also reach out to me anytime on Twitter or on Telegram. So Twitter, my name is Deepin Inspiration Hub, my profile is Deepin Inspira Hub. On Telegram, my username is Deepin Inspiration Hub. A lot of people have reached out to me, and I'm always so happy that I'm able to help them out to solve their problems as well, or any questions that they would have. So feel free to reach out to me as well, and I'm very happy to help you out with every question that you have. Thanks for watching this video, and see you in the next one. Bye.